Welcome back, everyone. It is exactly 7 o'clock, and we are just 6 days away from the November 5th election, which means we are 1 week away from the next Federal Reserve meeting, and oh boy, we have a data dump not only coming this week, but then we've got the election and the Fed next week. We've got a lot, and so what I thought is, hey, why don't we do sort of a little roundup every night and just look to see what entertaining information we can find about Harris and the Trump, and then talk about it, because it seems like, frankly, I found this really fascinating. I don't know about you, but I found there were a lot of sources out there, and they get a lot of views on YouTube. It's a lot of people talking about, oh, look at Kamala Harris get booed, or look at Donald Trump. People are walking out on Donald Trump, and there's so much hatred. It's almost kind of like you have channels that are designed for, this channel's going to hate on Trump. This channel's going to hate on Harris. And that's all they do. And there's no neutrality or reason or rational analysis. And so what I want to do is try to bring some of that. So we'll obviously look at comments as well here, see what y'all are thinking, but I'm kind of going to jump into some of the initial thoughts that I have. So first of all, I'll be posting a separate video on a summary of the Joe Rogan podcast with Donald Trump, but I'd like to start by touching on this argument that's been coming up. Apparently, the Harris administration has denied going to the Joe Rogan Experience because of the sort of busy pre-election schedule that they have. Now, there are a few ways to look at this. On one hand, you will have a lot of people that say, okay, well, maybe she doesn't actually want to go on the podcast, and because she knows that all of the Joe Rogan podcasts are regularly done in studio in Austin, Texas, and they're regularly 2 to 3 hours long, then let's just say, yeah, we're willing to go on your show, but you got to come to us, and we're only going to give you an hour. And so basically, they're sort of like tacitly denying the Joe Rogan show and the Joe Rogan Experience, because the whole point of the Joe Rogan Experience is that it doesn't feel like there's a time rush. You know, one of the things that I found, and I'll kind of just give this up now before I post the Joe Rogan review video with Trump. One of the things that I find is when people go on the Joe Rogan Experience, they're able to be a lot more candid and themselves, because it doesn't seem like there's some kind of crazy rush to get through some agenda or get all your talking points out, or get all of your, jargon out. Let me compare it, for example. Look at a Donald Trump. So Donald Trump we'll pull up 2 clips here, okay? So what we'll do is we're going to go to a typical sort of Donald Trump press conference, if you will, and we'll look at, sort of the way that he talks. So let's just do a search here. I think it was earlier today. Yeah, Donald Trump holds surprise press conference. Okay, whatever, great. So let's listen to a little, just the snippet. We'll just randomly jump in here, and let's just see what Donald Trump has for us. And I want to compare, and I want you to see sort of the difference of Donald Trump at these events. And I don't know what part I'm going to. I'm just randomly picking one here. We're going to do it live together here. And let's see what he's like here compared to Joe Rogan, right? So let's listen to this.
Around like it was dirt. And as you know, the recent monster hurricane, Helene, just wiped out so much. If you look at the different states, North Carolina, Georgia,
All right, this is fair. This is pretty reasonable. This is almost Rogan-esque. I'm trying to find where he's a little bit more like in the press con. Oh, he went on for a while here. That's what it was. Oh, he had like 50 minutes here. That's why. Okay, but let me find a little bit more of what I'm talking about.
Our country around, and
this is probably more representative of what you usually see at these sort of press conferences, I think. Let's see it here.
I was always very respectful of her, but she got up there which shows you how nervous they are about what's happening. But she was nasty 2 days ago. She got up and said some bad things she shouldn't have said. They were wrong, too. But we're going to turn our country around. And
so a little bit, I guess what I'm exemplifying is you have a Trump that when he's in these sort of press conference scenarios, he's very focused on, I got to get the message out. You know, the world is coming to an end, World War III, you know, she's a disaster, it's a disgrace or whatever. And then I get into, which is fine, you know, this is sort of what he does in his pressers. I mean, in fairness, you know, Harris and Democrats don't have nice things to say about Trump either. But it's really interesting because when you get into a Rogan Experience, it seems like you get almost like a different Trump. It's not press conference Trump. See what you think about it. Let's see.
I had it approved. Reagan couldn't get it. Nobody could get it. I got it all done. It was amazing. They were getting ready to start drilling. The equivalent, they think, of Saudi Arabia, one of the biggest finds in the world. It was all set to go. And Biden comes in, one of his first orders were, we're not going to use it. It would have been so good we could have supplied all of Asia with oil and gas.
What was the negative?
And you talk about money.
Right.
The negative was politically they didn't think it was good for them. That's all.
You see what I mean? This is like a totally almost different interaction. And I'm not trying to show this as like you know, oh, you got to love Trump or Harris or whatever. That's not the point of these videos. The point of this is to say, when you look at the difference between Trump on the Joe Rogan Experience and Trump in the press conference. In the press conference, it's almost like he's ready for the clips, right? They're going to destroy the world. They're eating the dog, whatever. It's something outrageous to get the media attention, right? This, when he's on the Joe Rogan Experience, it's 2 hours and 58 minutes long. And frankly, it was probably longer than that because they kind of started it in a weird intro. Like, listen to this intro, how it just sort of jumps in mid-talk.
All right, we're rolling. Good to see you.
So.
Here we go.
Now, never mind. I don't know if I saw a different version or whatever, but I didn't hear where we're rolling part. It felt like they went right sort of into a conversation and they clipped a part out, but maybe I had originally watched a different portion. But anyway, so point of this is when people come on the show, one of the reasons the Joe Rogan Experience is the experience is because you do get this unfiltered version of people, this relaxed version. I mean, even from the Trump that you get who's sitting and willing to have a conversation with you like this, you know, where you're able to talk and discuss and, you know, you see Donald Trump sort of think. It's very different from the Trump here on the stage where he's sort of like ready to attack. You know, it's like the press room in the White House where they're like, all right, you reporter, no, you're wrong. It's very interesting. So the reason I bring that up is because Joe Rogan posts this. Also, for the record, the Harris campaign has not passed on doing the podcast. They offered a date on Tuesday, but I would have had to travel to her, and they only wanted to do an hour. I strongly feel the best way to do this is in studio in Austin. My sincere wish is just to have a nice conversation and get to know her as a human. I really hope we can make it happen. Now, Democrats all over are freaking out over this with Joe Rogan because they're basically saying, well, Joe Rogan, why don't you just get on your private plane and get your ass over to her? Why are you being lazy? This is an opportunity to interview a presidential candidate, blah, 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 blah. But I think they don't understand the point that getting into the Joe Rogan zone is part of the experience. Everybody gets that same debate stage, so to speak. Everybody gets the equal experience. And you ruin that when you're not there. So, again, you know, on one side, you got people saying, well, I mean, you know, if you wanted an interview there, they said she's open to it. But I actually think there's a chance the Harris administration knew that Joe would say, no, we're not going to do it anywhere but my studio. And then that way they could say, look, we offered to go on the Joe Rogan show. You know, he wasn't available to make it happen. It feels, I don't know. I don't know really how I feel about it. I think it's a little bit contrived. I think they should just go on the show. And honestly, maybe you kind of see a side of Harris that we haven't seen before. I don't know. I think it'd be good. I think an unfiltered look at all candidates, because there's no perfect candidate, obviously. But I do think that it's important to see people unfiltered. So another thing that you have is this drama over this controversy over what happened at Madison Square Garden. And so basically there was a comedian who he made a lot of jokes. And that's what comedians do. Honestly, if you've seen this comedian before, or like if you've ever gone to like a Lisa Lampanelli comedy show, who was on The Apprentice, by the way, they just like rag on people. That's what they do. Like they'll do the, oh, I love the Germans, but gosh, those are stubborn assholes. Yeah, whatever, right? Like that's just part of a comedy skit. And so what's happened is you had a comedian who, is a little harsh. Probably a lot harsh, but then again, that's also part of a comedy routine. I'll pull it up and I'll let you see it. Make a joke about Puerto Rico. It was harsh, and it wasn't really funny. That's one of the problems with it, right? It's like you're kind of supposed to say something nice first, and you're supposed to build them up first, and then you hit them, and then you say something nice again, right? Like, that's the comedy way, and then you're supposed to know that it's a comedian too, and you're just supposed to get over it. But the problem is, after this Puerto Rican comment, you have basically CNN anchors, and they're literally going onto the streets in Puerto Rico, or even just in various different cities looking for Puerto Ricans. And what they're doing is they're interviewing people. Oh, I see where I can find. They're interviewing random people on the streets who are related to Puerto Rico. And if you know anything about these street interviews, the way these work is usually you have people that you go up to and you only air the clips you get when you find a Puerto Rican that's offended by what Donald Trump said. So they could have talked to like 20 different people, and then they just show the clip of somebody going, oh yeah, I was offended by what was said. Here, I'll let you listen to it.
Only solidified his vote. You think Puerto Ricans heard those words from last night?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of Boricuas, they're mad and disappointed.
Marcos Pagan didn't like the comments at all.
I disagree with that. Like, I think they probably talked to 10 people and were like, well, man, it was comedy. I don't care. I mean, I don't know. I'm not obviously trying to speak for everybody, but it's like, it's comedy. Get over it. It seems like, everything politics related just gets very taken out of context. So it's incredible. And I think this is why people honestly hate politics, because there's no sincerity anymore in politics. Everything's so scripted. It's got to be perfect, and it's contrived. I think that's what people don't like about politics, is this contrived nature where it's like, oh yeah, you're purposely saying that because it's gonna have XYZ implication, whatever, I don't know, it drives me nuts. But I just listen to the comment yourself, and I'm not saying it's not offensive. That is what often, what do they call it? It's insult comedy, right? That's what insult comedy is. They're doing their job, and then it's like, well, you shouldn't be at a rally. Oh my gosh, okay. Well then, it kind of goes both ways though, right? Because on one hand, you got everybody saying, oh, Trump's a Nazi, and it's like, oh, okay. I think we'll probably be a little more balanced here, because it's kind of like you're worried about him saying a joke, him having a comedian saying a joke about Puerto Rico, and then you're comparing somebody to Hitler. It's also a little rough.
Republicans are the party with a good sense of humor. Free speech is under attack, people. I host a show, and each week I get updates what words we're allowed to use and not use anymore. It's happening right now the past few years. It's a real thing. And, used to be able to tell people to Google stuff. My mom's a boomer in the state of Ohio, and there's no convincing her of anything. She's eating the cats. She's eating the dogs. They're eating the pets up there. It is absolutely wild times. It really, really is. And, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay. We're getting there. Again, normally I don't follow.
Anyway, so that's there you go. That's in case you missed what all the drama was about. There you go. But in fairness, then it also turns into this on Travis Kelce, which I don't think Travis Kelce's happy about this one.
Guys, but I think that Travis Kelce might be the next O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, there was another one too. That's a good point. Where was the P. Diddy one? That was a good one too. Yeah. It was actually the very next line. The very next line. If I just kept playing it, that's funny. Listen to this.
Feels good in here. The other side's got a lot of crazy endorsements. Swift, Eminem, Leo DiCaprio, Beyonce. Every day the Democratic Party looks more and more like a P. Diddy party. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Andres here doesn't like this is a political event, not the place for an insult. Come on, man. Come on. Like, this is the same thing as saying, oh, this is not the place for a concert, and it's a political event. Have you been to a political event? Let me put it this way. I'm going to go other side, okay? Other side. I went to an Obama rally. And you know what happens at the Obama rally? Back in 2008, you dance, people are drinking, people are whatever, they're having a good time, people are doing the wave, you've got, people doing sort of opening acts coming up. It doesn't matter. Like, what you do is entertain. You provide entertainment, then you give some political value, and then you get people excited against this stuff. That's the point, right? The point is to get attention. So the interesting thing is, so many people are so caught up in what was said here, like Andres over here or whatever, who's so worried about what was said. I think what you forgot is that they just won. They got your attention. They got your attention. You're talking about it. Now, I'm covering it because it's election-related news, and oh my gosh, surprise, surprise, look, this is election prep, Trump versus Harris 2024, so this is all related to this video. But the point is, that is the purpose of politics. You have to get attention. Why do you think, do you know what the most viewed videos are on the CNN YouTube channel? Do you think they're the boring anchors that get the most views? No. Do you think they're Irene Weiss, The Soul Never Forgets? Or Carrie Lake defends shifting positions on abortion? Or hear AOC's response to Puerto Rico joke? What gets more views? Well, let's analyze it. Let's do it together, okay? Very simple. Look at this. Irene Weiss, The Soul Never Forgets. 2.9 thousand views. Sure, just in the last 2 hours, but a video posted an hour later already has 10x the views. Or 2 hours before that has 80 times the views. Or Carrie Lake shifts abortion position. 16,000 views. Well, how about this one? Here, AOC's response. Oh, 647,000 views. Of course. And then look at this, CNN. See how offensive the Puerto Rico joke could backfire on Trump. It's literally, like, it just gives Trump more attention. Look at this. They get people, like, there are a lot of Republicans who are like, I pissed off AOC by supporting a Puerto Rico joke. Let's go. Like, the irony is you're literally playing into Trump's hand when you freak out over a comedian make a joke. Because the joke is actually on the other person. They got the attention. That's the whole purpose of politics. Look at all the free advertising they just got. Now, Everybody who watches this right here, I mean, look at this. That's 2 million views just in those 2 videos, basically, right here. Everybody who watches that is like, I gotta see the joke. And then you click to, where's the joke? Well, you gotta find the joke. Maybe then all of a sudden you're watching Elon Musk talk there. You're watching Vivek. You're watching Trump. You're watching whatever. You literally invited them over to your opposition in that case, right? So I always like to just be rational about this. Like, I'm not here to say, oh, if I'm going to host, first of all, I ain't going to host a political event, okay? Like, politics suck. I'm just from a neutral POV who doesn't give a flying frack what happens, because I want to maintain my impartiality and my neutrality, and I want you to know that. It doesn't matter to me because I'm just going to cover what the news is. I just want you to know there are consequences to getting so worked up about something that doesn't really matter, especially from an insult comic, when it wasn't even Trump who said it. And you know Trump didn't vet the speech. And who cares? Some campaign staff or person said they vetted it and didn't catch that part. Who gives a flying hoonies? It's not even a negative on Trump. So literally all you do by getting upset about it is introducing support for Donald. Because you ain't gonna, like, get somebody not to vote for him because of that. You can't even freaking vote if you're in Puerto Rico. Oh, no. I'm pretty sure about that. Let's fact check that really quick. Can Puerto Ricans vote for president? Pretty sure the answer to that is no. Nope. Not permitted to vote in presidential elections. Yep. So look at that. I mean, they could probably go vote anyway because you don't need an ID. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But they can't even vote. So anyway. Okay. All right. That's enough about that. So I wanted to get that out of the way. Let's get a little bit more news that we've got here. All right. So let's get some of the latest. So, okay, U.S. election. Okay, so the big thing that we really have is obviously the movement in things like Bitcoin and the downward movement in things like energy-related stocks. So if you look at, first solar missed, but then you even look at an end phase, ever since you've been pricing in more of a Donald Trump win, you go over here and you go, oh, at the same time we've been pricing in more Donald Trump, end phase has been getting wrecked. That's because end phase is a big beneficiary of those Inflation Reduction Act tax credits. And it doesn't help that they keep getting hammered because of, basically the pricing in of Donald Trump. And that is what it is. But you've got Bitcoin pricing in Donald Trump, DJT pricing in Donald Trump. It almost seems like everything's kind of getting priced to perfection for pricing in Donald Trump. So I think that's actually very interesting because it does potentially set up a reversal if there is a Harris win, which is possible as well. Okay, so let's see here. Then we've got... okay, let's go grab some news. Let's see. I'm gonna go hunt around. Okay, so the suburbs. This is interesting. How the suburbs became the clearest path to victory for Kamala Harris. Let's take a peek at this. Oh, okay. I guess I gotta log in first, so let's go ahead and log in. Okay. Pretty sure I have a login, but since when do I have to log in to look at an article from Politico? I don't think I ever have had to. Yeah, there we go. All right, I got past it. Kamala Harris is counting on suburban voters to do what they've done since Donald Trump won the presidency in 2016. Reject him. It may be the single most important piece to her electoral path, or math rather. While Donald Trump has made inroads with black and Latino men, polls in the late stage of the election showed that the suburbs could still power her to victory. Latest Wall Street Journal poll found Harris leading among suburban voters by 7 percentage points. That's actually a pretty big margin, especially with how close you really have, or how close you really are to this election. To have a 7-point spread in suburbs, that's pretty remarkable. And Reuters Ipsos found, Kamala Harris 6 points ahead. So let's take a peek at this. I think that's very interesting. Now I do have a WSJ account as well, so we'll flip around here and we'll be able to look at both of them. All these paywalls. Come on, folks. My goodness. Everyone's got a payroll. She's got a payroll. You got a payroll. You got a payroll. All right, here we go. So, voters in the nation's 7 battleground states see Donald Trump as better equipped than Kamala Harris to handle issues they care about most, the economy, border security, yet are divided evenly over which candidate should lead the nation, a new Wall Street Journal poll finds. A survey of the most contested states finds Harris with slim leads in Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Georgia. These are obviously going to be very bad. Remember, I live streamed the call with the governor of Georgia. You remember the Kemp call and Trump? We just gotta find some ballots. It wasn't a good call, but he says it was a good call. So, all right, Georgia on the ballots. That include independent and third-party candidates, where they will be offered as options. Trump has a narrow edge in Nevada, North Carolina, and Penn, but no lead is greater than 2 percentage points, except for Trump's 5-point advantage in Nevada. Nice. Across the full set of 4,200 swing state voters, Trump gets 46% and Harris draws 46%. This is pretty dang close. Now, what I'd like to see is if they give us some more detail. Here we go. So between Trump and Harris, who is better able to handle each of the... It was a perfect call. Yeah, it was a perfect call. Nobody does calls better than I do. Dude, the call was terrible. And I know you're just joking. The call was not good. But hey, that's so long behind us, it doesn't matter. Between Trump and Harris, who is best able to handle each of the following? Economy. The ranks actually go to Trump. And I think that's because a lot of people who really focus on... the economy, or quite frankly, just tired of taxation. You know, one of the things that I find very, interesting is just how expensive things have really gotten, and then you add the insult of how high taxes have gotten. It's pretty intense. So, what I really find interesting is I ran like 20 miles today. I ran to Carl's Jr. and I got a regular grilled chicken sandwich. It was literally grilled chicken, a slice of cheese, a slice of lettuce, a slice of tomato. Okay, this is like $3 worth of stuff and then, cheap bread. Okay, that's it. Run through the little toaster machine, done. Okay, should be like, for fast food, should be like $4. No. It was $10.49. What a freaking ripoff. What a ripoff. No wonder the place was freaking empty. Complete scam. Somebody here says, Kevin, what do you think about Trump winning, talking about no more federal tax and no tax on overtime and no tax on tip? I think a lot of these are very cool promises. I know Donald Trump, and I don't think he's promising no federal income tax. I think he suggested that if we have enough tariffs and we have enough GDP growth that we maybe wouldn't even need a federal income tax. But I don't think the federal income tax is going anywhere anytime soon. The no tax on tips, that's probably doable. And overtime's going to be a little harder to do. I don't see that as realistic. The tips, easy. I agree, that's realistic. It's fine. Kamala picked that one up too. And Harris. But the others, I think, are a little bit more unrealistic. Inflation and rising costs, they favor Trump. Immigration and border security, they favor Trump. Housing affordability, they favor Harris. The irony, though, is, coming from a real estate background, I am not a big fan of long-term affordability coming out of, you know, $25,000 home buyer credits because you just make housing more unaffordable. It lets existing sellers sell real estate for more money. Very simple. Let's see here. 500,000 Puerto Ricans in Pennsylvania. Yeah, it's true. I mean, you got Puerto Ricans everywhere. I had nothing against Puerto Ricans. I've been to Puerto Rico many times. It's a beautiful place. Peter Schiff lives in Puerto Rico. I've visited him many times. Great people over there. Healthcare. They favor Harris. Mostly, I mean, she mostly talks about reducing healthcare but the cost. But what's actually really interesting is you also have Trump, who suggests that you might not tax Social Security, which, you know, oftentimes people collecting Social Security also really value healthcare. And so sometimes I feel like there could be a blur there, but maybe that goes more into the economy bucket. Stands up for the American worker. Pretty split, actually. Cares about people like you. Yeah, I don't know how much this one actually matters to the point of somebody casting a ballot, but oh well. Oh, I think I have our ballots right here, by the way. In California, they just hand them out. So I just started harvesting, and I got two. I got two right here. Official election mail. And the cool thing about these things, so I'm just gonna open one right now. The cool thing about one of these is you can kind of go drop it off whenever you want. You just have to be careful if somebody doesn't set it on fire. Did you see those videos? People setting ballot. Oh yeah, see, they got the sticker. That's cool. Look at that. I don't think there's anything sensitive on there. If there is, well, whatever. Here, see, it's got the little I voted by mail. They literally give you a sticker for I voted. So anyway, I got to get myself some more of these. I've only got two right now. So I don't think that's enough. Gonna have to work on that. Anyway. Okay. So 20 miles in Carl's Jr. at a pit stop. Hey man, it was a good pit stop, okay? Don't make fun of the Carl's Jr. right there. So that's crazy. We beat Medicare. I never said Puerto Ricans didn't live here. You gotta pay attention, man. So Kevin, do you in person or mail? So what I do is I take all my collected ballots and then I go walk them to the little drop box. And anybody's ballot I collect in California, it's actually great. Anybody's ballot I collect in California, they have a little spot for them to sign. It says, I authorize the person below to return my ballot. And so they put Kevin, and then they sign it. And I can legally harvest their ballots. I just do it for Lauren. But, yeah. It's on the damn ballot. Yeah. But, yeah, that's what I'm not going to stand in line. Like, if they're going to mail this crap to me, I pick up the ballot, I open it up on election day, because I think it's fun to do it on election day. I fill it out. Lauren fills hers out. I shove it in the ballot, a little envelope thing. We sign it. I drive it over like 5 minutes away to the ballot box. By the time I get to my ballot box and I drop the ballots in, I already know who's won because, you know, the election's usually called by the time the polls close in California. And I kind of just go last minute because it's not going to matter. and then it's done. And then I voted. So, it's kind of funny. Anyway, so where were we? All right. So, one is that voters hold a nuanced view of candidates' leadership on the economy. Harris says the advantage when voters are asked which candidate. I read which is. I want to see the suburban. Where was that suburb part? Suburb. No, it doesn't actually have it in this. It's just Puerto Rico that talks about, or not Puerto Rico, Politico that talks about this. Somebody here says, so Puerto Ricans can't vote, yet illegal immigrants are being let to vote in some states. No, there are no illegal immigrants being let to vote. Keep in mind that when you hear stuff like that, you do just want to run it through the logic filter. Like, even if somebody is able to vote under somebody else's name, vote for somebody else, and sign under somebody else's name, their signature has to match. And if the signature doesn't match, then it gets rejected. They also can't vote twice. So if the other person has already voted, or now there are 2 votes cast in the same person's name, it's a problem. And it gets kicked back, and they have to figure it out and solve it. This is why they're poll workers. So, like, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of, like, IDing people for voting. I feel like it would, like, solve a lot of problems. And I realized, when I talked about that in California, when I ran for governor, people were like, oh, but Kevin, some people can't afford IDs. Then I'm like, then give people free IDs. Damn, man, it ain't that hard. Solve that problem then. Solve the ID problem. Not, oh, let's not ID people. It's just crazy. But no, and even when there are cases like that, they generally get resolved. The problem is the sort of clickbait headlines, they never get follow through. No one is verifying signatures. You'd be surprised. Do you know that with certainty that nobody's verifying signatures? Because I'm pretty sure poll workers get hired in the hundreds of thousands to sit and verify signatures. But hey, maybe your polling place is different. So, okay. Let's see here. What else do we have here? Inside the Harris campaign, aides said they believe they will improve on President Joe Biden's performance with suburban voters, driven by college educated voters, and women who were turned off by the riot at the Capitol. So it doesn't surprise me that if that women are going to come out, or wouldn't surprise me that women come out in droves for Harris. That's I think going to be more likely. I don't know if there's any women. If there are any women in the audience, let me know. Somebody here. I had mine rejected before due to signature not matching. Yep. So okay. They verify signature. Kevin, check Scott Press. I don't know who that is. Scott Presslers. All right, I'll go look. Who is this? Scott Pressler, conservative activist. All right. So they're going to be pro-Trump then. Let's see here. Briefly, an organizer for the Republican Party of Virginia. Oh, okay. And an organizer for Stop the Steal. Okay. So we're going to get some impartial information. Yes. So how do I check him out? Is he on YouTube? Because nobody knows YouTube. Okay, let's see. YouTube. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay. Soft wrestler with CNN's Don Lemon 6 years ago. A smaller channel. Let's listen to it. I have interest. Let's see what you got. Let's see what somebody in the audience is listening to.
Madison Square Garden here. I got the man himself, Scott Pressler. Nobody does more to get people registered to vote than Scott. Scott, what's your take on Madison Square Garden here?
Keep in mind, I'm a big fan of people getting registered to vote.
The energy is electric. I mean, you can feel the excitement in the air. People are ready to save our country. And the fact that Donald Trump and
All right, Mick the Puerto Rican. Mick the Puerto Rican. You know what we got to do? We got to go into some of your forests. Because y'all got beautiful waterfalls over on there, okay? There's some nice hikes in there, man. That's what I'm saying.
RFK Jr. and Elon Musk are going to be coming here together. That coalition in itself just inspires me about what this administration could offer, not only to our country, but to the free world.
Did you get a chance to see, obviously, the thing that went viral the other day? He went on Joe Rogan for a 3-hour podcast.
All right, this is old news. This is pretty boring.
3 hours, unedited, unscripted. Was able to relate to us. He's able to bring his humor. He's able to bring his lived.
All right, this is pretty boring. Don't get me wrong. I love the unscripted 3 hours, by the way. Big fan. What I also think is really cool
But I never did.
is this.
I'm running against somebody that said she did, but it turned out to be a totally...
This was like the most brilliant troll ever. I thought this was hilarious. Such a great troll. Big fan of trolling like this. Like, this right here is the definition of my level of, like, petty trolling. Big fan. Big fan. Love it. Nobody knows trolling. Okay, good. So, let's do another one. Let's see here. Let's do... You know, what's interesting is I watched, I don't know why, but I every time I watch this channel, and I'm not trying to, you know, like bag on this creator, you know, maybe that's just what they're into. But here we go. 200,000 views for the Kamala campaign just imploded. Look at this. And it's always the same thing.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Okay, so Kamala Harris had her biggest rally as of yet. And of course, the left is trying to promote this thing as, ooh, the greatest thing to ever happen. Look at the excitement, look at the enthusiasm. People are just so excited for Kamala Harris. I guess what they're trying to say is that this was her moment to shine, her moment to steal the spotlight. But I don't know, I don't feel like that at all. I feel as though it was more of the same thing, and in certain ways, it was kind of a PR disaster for her. Once again, I think there's a serious strategic misstep here, as we're seeing a clear repeated pattern, and that right there is going to be
Okay, this is exhausting. Okay, hold on. Let me get to where their point is. So, this is where you get some hecklers in the audience. Donald Trump champ. And then he makes fun of Kamala Harris, saying, oh, she has a stump speech. Every time somebody heckles her, he say, oh, just go down the way to the small rally down the street. And he shows some clips of her getting booed. And then I'm like, all right. So I looked up the actual full Houston rally. Basically the same clip that he showed, but rather than just the clip portion, the entire event. And when you listen to the entire speech, you find that she doesn't actually get booed. The audience is booing the people getting kicked out, and then the audience is booing Donald Trump for, you know, slams that she's making on Donald Trump. And the impression that sort of these anti-Harris folks are trying to create is, oh, she's getting booed at her rally. No, these people were booing the things she was saying that were bad about Trump. Yet then you have these channels that take that out of context and are like, oh, look, she got heckled and booed. And I'm like, okay, look, I'm not saying everybody needs to like Kamala Harris, but at least be fair. You know, if somebody's booing, at least show the full context. So I always find that very interesting, that you end up getting slams over these more out of context clips. You get that a lot, especially on X. But on X, it's pretty popular to just lean right. Like, if you want to be more popular on X, you lean right. You want to be more popular on Threads, you lean left. That's just the way it works. So, why don't we listen to let's do another journal piece check here, and then maybe we'll flip over to some other pieces as well. Let's see what we got here. So, Trump Treasury contender pledges to work with Musk on slashing spending. Okay. Let's take a look at this. So, let's see here. Okay, somebody says she absolutely got booed. There have been so many videos of this. Whoa, hold on a second. I didn't say she's never been booed before. I said she did not get booed at this event. And so you're making a mistake because now you're leaving a comment suggesting that I said she got booed or that she didn't get booed at this event and that she actually did. So now what we're going to do, thanks to you, is we'll just show you. We'll go find the clips. I will find them. And then we'll show you. Let me see where I have them. I believe I actually have the timestamps because some people like this like the out of context stuff. And we're going to fix you because you're broken. But it's okay. Sometimes people are broken and they need a little fixing. And that's just what we're going to do. So, watch this. Show me Kamala Harris getting booed right here. This is the Houston rally. Okay? Listen to what she says.
Because we know what's at stake and we will not be silenced. We know what's happening here in Texas. Doctors and nurses who go to prison for life simply for providing reproductive care. Think about that. Life in prison for health care providers for doing what they think is in their patients' best interests.
You hear how she's getting booed and how you could take like 10 seconds of that out of context and, oh, she got booed. She just said doctors and nurses are going to prison for life for providing reproductive care. Now, we don't have to argue that statement. We just have to understand that the audience is reacting to that. Whether or not that is true, we have to understand the audience is reacting to that. The audience is not booing her, the audience is booing that. So, unfortunately, when you say, oh, she absolutely got booed, when I'm literally talking about the Houston rally, and I watched the entire Houston rally twice to make sure, and I wrote down the timestamps, I'm sorry, you're wrong. And just to prove it to you, we'll go a little further. Let's go to 1223 when she talks about the Attorney General of Texas.
Great about what happened to women like Kate Thompson, who was heartbroken to learn her much-wanted pregnancy was not viable, heartbroken when her doctors told her if she remained pregnant, she would be risking her own life or her ability to have children in the future. But the Attorney General of Texas threatened if Kate's doctors helped terminate her pregnancy, they would be criminally prosecuted. So Kate was forced to flee the state to get the care she needed. In Louisiana, Caitlin Joshua was turned away from not one, but 2 emergency rooms for miscarrying.
So again, point is, you're wrong. She didn't get booed at this event. In fact, you can see that her audience is actually very happy about her at this event. Now, again, I'm not here saying you should support Donald Trump or you should support Kamala Harris. I'm just saying, if you're saying, oh, she got booed at the Houston event, no, she did not. In fact, here's her audience.
There are many important races, including Colorado. We must know that his opponent supported a national abortion ban 6 times. And an opponent who said he did not support exceptions even for victims of rape and incest.
So this is unfortunately the problem with politics in America. You have somebody like, I saw Kamala Harris get booed. I saw it with my own eyes. And I'm like, really? Show me where. And then I show you 3 or 4 examples of how she doesn't get booed. And there you go. You don't have a timestamp or something to react with. Now, then people are like, oh, okay, but you know, the hecklers, people got booed around the hecklers. Well, who got booed? The hecklers got booed? Or she got booed? You don't know. We don't know. It's likely because her audience is booing the things that she's saying that are bad, and because her audience is cheering her, we can presume that the audience is booing the hecklers, because that's what happens at an event. If you've ever gone to a political rally in person, if you've ever gone to an event in person, or if you've ever been like me and you held your own political event, you know that when a heckler gets shut up, everybody boos the heckler and cheers the person they're there to see. And again, I'm not here to tell you, you got to support Harris or Trump. I'm here to tell you that when you take little clips on X out of context, you're just dumbing yourself down. It's not your fault. You're being fed bad information. You're not getting the logical context, and you're not there. So it's your fault. And ultimately, the buck stops with you. And so it's only when you realize it yourself that it's kind of like, oh, damn, okay, all right, well, you know, like, that's just unfortunately the way the internet is today. It's pretty terrible. But you know, you have to keep in mind, all of the sides do this. You have Republicans that do this. You have Democrats that do this. This is why it's so unpopular to be a neutral analyst of what's going on. But doesn't matter to me. It's gonna keep providing the value. So, what do we have over here? All right. Trump Treasury contender pledges to work with Musk on slashing spending. John Paulson, a Trump ally, says he would work on trade and energy if he becomes the trade secretary. Ooh, what does he say about energy? He would work with Tesla, Tesla CEO Elon Musk, to enact massive federal spending cuts if Paulson were to become Treasury secretary. Spending cuts sounds good for reducing that fiscal nightmare we're up against. But listen to this. I'm working with Musk particularly by getting rid of subsidies for green energy in the Inflation Reduction Act. Okay, this is why, in part, Enphase is getting screwed. Because as people start pricing in Donald Trump, you are unpricing solar. All of these tax subsidies for solar, wind, inefficient economic energy resources. Eliminate that. Bring down spending. Bye-bye, Enphase tax credits, I guess. Doesn't make them a bad company, but dang. Relatively unusual for an ally of a presidential candidate to talk openly about the role that he or she might play. Treasury Secretary is one of the most prominent positions in government. Paulson, 68, has been close to the president for over a decade. Treasury Secretary will likely be point person on several key Trump initiatives, including the extension of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, including a broad range of new tax cuts. It's pretty cool, actually. So let's look this billionaire investor up a little bit. Let's see here. So I want to see what. Oh, we got there's a video. Hedge fund billionaire John Paulson. Let's see here. Here he is.
Our next guest is billionaire hedge fund titan John Paulson. He joins us in his first Squawk Box appearance ever. John, of course, is the founder and president of Paulson and Company. He's also an advisor to former President Trump's presidential campaign, and we're thrilled to have you on the broadcast.
All right, you little weenie baby. I'm not afraid to say who I am for. I have the balls to tell you to your face that I'm not telling you who I'm voting for because I, A, don't have to, and B, demand maintaining my impartiality on this channel. And if you don't like it, oh well. But there's a big difference between being afraid and having the balls to tell you that you are wrong and I have the right not to tell you. So suck it.
This morning. Thanks for joining us, John.
Hey, good morning. Glad to be here.
There's about 1 million.
All right, real ball of enthusiasm here.
Fed, but I want to start with this election, and I actually want to start with a headline that was made just yesterday by former President Trump, because I think we're all trying to understand his plans as they relate to tariffs. I'm sure you saw that one of the things that he said was that he plans to put a 200% tariff on John Deere tractors if, in fact, they were to move them and manufacture them in Mexico as opposed to here in the U.S. Obviously, he has a broader plan around tariffs as well. What do you make about this tariff plan? A lot of economists have questioned the level of tariffs that he would put on. I would also say other business executives have. And I would say just yesterday, Mark Cuban, in reaction to all this, said that he thought the plan was insane and a good way to destroy a legendary American company. So as an investor and somebody who's on Trump's side, what do you think of this?
Yeah, I think Trump's tariff plans are well-founded. When you look at the economists, they like the concept of free trade, but we don't live in a free trade world. U.S. has minimal barriers to import into the U.S., but we face substantial both financial, tariff, and non-tariff barriers when we try and export. So as a result, in 2022, we had a $1.2 trillion merchandise trade deficit. We've lost.
All right. I'm just going to read what this guy says, because either he needs a cup of coffee or it's 1 foot in the grave. Sorry. I'm just going to read it. Okay. I can't handle that one. All right. So in the interview, Paulson indicated that that was an older interview. This is a more recent one. He saw the potential remit extending to energy and trade. He said he would work with Trump to encourage energy production so we become an energy dominant producer. Economists have predicted that if Trump carries through with the plan to impose 60% tariffs on imports from China, 10 to 20% on others, inflation would suffer. Paulson suggested that this is part of a tactic to elicit concessions. Possible. Elon Musk said this week he could cut at least $2 trillion from the federal deficit, but didn't say how. Sorry, from the federal budget, not the... Yeah. That he said that at Madison Square Garden as he got up on stage, and he was asked, "Hey, how much do you think you can cut?" And his answer was at least 2 of the $6 trillion. Obviously, it's not like he's going through piece by piece on the plan here, but Inflation Reduction Act includes extensive tax credits for EVs, renewable power, carbon credits, hydrogen, nuclear energy. And I think it's still ironic how these tax credits are going to affect Tesla. Elon Musk says they would only slightly hurt the company, but it would be devastating for our competitors. I mean, yeah, it would kill the competition. So he might be right. Maybe that's the argument, is that it would just kill the competition. So, okay. Interesting. Paulson potential pick. Now, is he listed as potential pick or the pick? Potential. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we'll get the picks later. I always find it so exciting to see who the picks are going to be. So, okay. So let's do another journal piece here. And then just to balance it, we'll go with the Times. So Trump exploits divisions among Black and Latino voters. Harris asks voters to choose unity over a petty tyrant. Okay. What do we got here? Democratic imagination, people of color is a unifying term. Donald Trump is showing just how imaginary that unity might be. For months, the Trump campaign allies have blah, blah, blah. Trump's social media posts warn Black and Latino voters that immigrants are coming for their jobs. Well, he said that for a while. I mean, we know Trump is trying to be, basically, he's trying to be clear, like, if you're illegal, you're getting deported. That's essentially the argument that he's making. They reference the comedian with the island of garbage. Okay, this is like such old news. It's exhausting when they all kind of use the same thing over and over again, but whatever. If Harris wins, the Black community loses its political power forever because their neighborhoods will all be majority migrant. It's an interesting strategy because typically you have like 80% of Black voters that end up voting for the Democrat candidate. And so I think it's fascinating that, Trump is basically saying like, hey, you're making a mistake because immigrants are going to take your jobs. Okay. Well, he makes his position clear there. let's go back to Journal for a moment. And we'll go back to another Times piece too. I'll kind of just bounce around a little bit. So what else do we have here? Democrats stump for Trump. What? This is the editorial board? Editorial board of the Wall Street Journal. We thought we've seen everything in politics, but you really can't top the spectacle of Democrats attacking California GOP Rep Vallejo. Forget this, voting to impeach Trump. Oh, that is pretty funny. That Democrats are whacking him for that. Democrats are more worried about Mr. Trump having coattails than they are that he'll destroy democracy. David Vallejo turned his back on the president, the whole MAGA movement, says a new ad, blah, blah, blah. Man, politics is just so lame. Real worry, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Recent University of California Berkeley poll, I got into Berkeley, by the way, showed Mr. Trump leading Mrs. Harris by 21 points in the San Joaquin Valley. Oh, well, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. So the San Joaquin Valley, just so you know, that's the breadbasket of California. When will the new house hack video be posted? Soon, probably by, I would say within the next 24 hours. Yeah. But it'll be fun. So, but anyway, breadbasket of California, it is very Republican. So what's actually very interesting, a lot of people don't know this about California, but the coastline is very Democratic, with the exception of like Ventura, which a lot of people call Kentucky. It is, and then certain parts of Central California, but coastline. But a lot of coastline California is pretty left-leaning. Then you have inland California, like the San Joaquin Valley, the breadbasket of California. This your Fresnos, all the way down to Bakersfield, that sort of whole range here. This is almost all Republican. But anyway, so Democratic ad is designed to encourage Trump voters to split their tickets. Right. Okay, so what they're trying to do is they're trying to get Republicans to vote against Vallejo, and then you have a higher chance of getting Democrats through. Interesting. So, yeah, California politicians use some fascinating tactics, and it's just crazy. Okay. What else do we have here? So, Musk XAI in talks to raise funding valued at $40 billion. Yeah, they were valued at 24 previously, and now they're looking to basically double the size of the company. It's actually pretty incredible. It's a lot of people see it as sort of a discounted way to get money into the AI play. I mean, I'm not a big fan of betting against Musk, but I think a lot of these AI chatbot companies are a little overvalued. I'd rather buy Google than I would like OpenAI. Like I feel like these LLMs, they're just going to be ubiquitous, and everybody's going to have their LLM, and that's sort of like, cool, you got AI, me too. Whatever. Okay. Harris makes closing campaign argument on a website of Trump's Jan 6 speech. So, Kamala Harris basically went to the site of where Donald Trump made his Jan 6 peaceful protest speech and says, for too long we've been consumed by too much division, chaos, and mutual distrust, and it can be easy to forget a simple truth. It doesn't have to be this way. So, sort of her version of a campaign rally. I mean, good for her. It's honestly a good strategy, right? Because there are a lot of people who don't want to vote for Donald Trump because of J6. Now, I don't know how many. I don't know what percentage. I'm not saying, that you should do one thing or another. Let's see here. See if I can get it. Yep, there it is. But it's a good move. Like, if you're going to do that, it's a good place to do it. Let me see if I can get it.
At the table.
Oh, yeah, she is.
Late at night,
cup of tea in hand, a pile of bills in front of her, trying to make it all work. And I've heard from so many of you who are facing even greater financial pressures. Donald Trump's answer to you is the same as it was the last time. Another $1 trillion in tax cuts for billionaires and big corporations. And this
Keep in mind that somewhere around 60% of Americans benefited from the Tax Cut and Jobs Act that Trump passed. That means the bottom 40% benefited pretty much zero or very, very little. But yes, like a lot more people than just billionaires benefited from the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. So, just a quick fact check on that.
This time, he will pay for it with a 20% national sales tax on everything you buy that is imported.
Okay, also misleading because it's not a sales tax. These are tariffs, and they're being proposed for negotiation purposes. I think I've only played like 20 seconds, and I've already got 2 fact checks. But it's okay. It's political jargon.
Think about it. Clothes, food, toys, cell phones. A Trump sales tax that would cost the average family nearly $4,000 more a year. And on top...
Okay, the $4,000 is from a left-leaning source. A more neutral source quoted $1,900 as a potential impact, and neither of them assume that this is just a negotiated starting point. Oh. But anyway, it's a smart location for Democrats to actually do this. So you got to give it to Harris and her team. That's a smart spot to do it on the site of the J6 speech, just to sort of draw that contrast. I don't think it actually swings a voter, but it's smart. That's smart. I see some comments people say her voice is physically painful. I mean, there are people on both sides who say that, right? Some people, they hear Trump and they cringe and they want to crawl up in a ball. Suburban woman here voted red up and down the ballot. Hey, well, there you go, Susan. All right. Okay. Another thing I saw Bill Ackman talk about, which is fair. I saw Bill Ackman talk about how, Harris is up and she did not participate in a primary. So, you have a candidate who really didn't get to compete in a normal forum against others. That was clearly noticeably frustrating for them or for Bill Ackman. And I think a lot of people do recognize that as a frustration, but I think, people who are supporters of Harris say it's okay. At this point, it ain't going to make a difference, right? It's just not going to make a difference. So left or right, it doesn't matter. It's going to be Harris or Trump. If you're not going to vote for her because she didn't go with a primary, I mean, here's your biggest primary. You got sort of the national primary right now. So what is this? Early mail-in votes raise questions about possible election results. First votes are rolling in, raising questions about what can be gleaned from the data. Almost all states and D.C. have begun some mail-in or early in-person voting. The states release how many ballots they've received, allowing comparisons to past elections, and many of them also show how many members of each party have cast ballots. Wow. All right, so that'll be interesting, but some people warn against, considering that this is only noise, like Nate Silver. Any comparisons people make are going to miss a key part of the story. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. 5 key takeaways from the Harris speech. Oh, good. Then I don't have to listen to the whole thing. Strong performance. Okay. I guess they like Harris. Chance 6 looms large. Well, for Democrats, it does. For a lot of the Republicans who are past that, who are voting for Trump, obviously. There are, of course, a lot of Republicans who are frustrated with it, and they've moved on from that. Or they have not moved on from that, and that's okay. I covered J6 for 10 hours. I did not like what happened that day, from what you could see while that day was happening. After the event, you look back and you look at some of the footage that you got from security footage on the inside, and you certainly start raising some eyebrows. It's like, okay, You know, we saw a lot of anger and fear from the outside POV, but then some of the stuff you saw on the inside, you know, people casually walking around and some of the Capitol Police opening doors for folks, that was weird. So it kind of like, it left me conflicted because I'm like, man, I covered that event for 10 hours. I feel like nobody knew that event better, you know, and then you get some of this inside footage just like, huh, this is confusing. Well, I guess that's the way it works, eh? Okay, what is this? A nominee is still not fully known? What do you mean? Oh, for her? New Biden fur complicates Harris's big night. What? But a White House person tweeted a transcript of remarks suggesting phrasing had been misinterpreted and Biden meant... Oh, okay. Whatever. Some oopsies and mistakes. That's fine. Cost of college is quietly going down. That's nice. Megyn Kelly. Trump rally was too brotastic. Male comedian, Elon, Cardone, Trump. Yeah. Might be a good point. Let me see what she said about it. Wasn't a Nazi rally. That's all nonsense. I agree with that. It's nonsense. But I'm telling you, even for me, and I voted for Trump last week, it was too brotastic. I mean, do we really care about that? Oh, Kelly said Trump is hemorrhaging female voters. And when I say we, I mean the audience here. You know, do we care about reading this? It's a good point. You got to clean up the bro talk just a little so you don't alienate women. Yeah, she's got a point. She's got a point. You want more women for Trump, so to speak, if you're in the Trump camp. So she's probably got a good point there, actually. I'll give her credit on that one. I like that one. All right, let's go look at some I'll do a brief look. I'm getting tired. I got to be up at 3 a.m. anyway. Brief look at what's going on X. So, Trump has done more for Puerto Rico than any other president, says Donald Trump. Okay. X is something else. Vivek, this is Biden and Kamala Harris's basket of deplorables moment by accusing others of being Hitler. I just think it's been so overused, the whole Hitler thing, that it's kind of lost its effect. Whereas the basket of deplorables, that had a big effect. Okay. Citadels, Ken Griffin. Expectation is that Trump wins the White House. Well, yeah. And that's what's being priced in at this point. Oh, RFK. Supreme Court rejects RFK Jr.'s request to be removed from the ballot. The Supreme Court refused to remove RFK Jr. from ballots in Wisconsin and Michigan despite his endorsement of Trump and request to be taken off. Kennedy argued that staying on violated his First Amendment rights, but election officials highlighted the logistical nightmare of removing his name. I mean, yeah. If you registered to vote and you're past all the deadlines and they printed the damn ballots, it is probably a little hard to take you off, in fairness. It's already hard enough for the government to get stuff done. All right. It's sleep time now. Anyway, hey, hopefully you found this interesting. If you want, I'll do this again over the next 5 days. I kind of like just clicking around and looking at stuff. I don't know, if you like it, let me know, you know, leave me a comment on whether you're watching it on X or on YouTube or, you know, whatever you want. And yeah, let me know what you think. So thanks for being here. We get to hang out more in the future if you want. If you don't like it, I won't do it. All right, I love y'all. Even Andres and the guy who wants to macho me up in Puerto Rico, and then the Boo guy. I still love y'all. All right, we'll see y'all.